$2 billion. This is the general retirement system. That immense figure acts as the exact financial lifeline for over 20,000 active city employees and retirees. These nodes represent actual people: the personnel at the water and sewerage department, the staff at the treasurer's office, and the everyday civil servants keeping city operations moving. In recent history, these exact workers faced severe financial crises. When the city navigated bankruptcy, employees and retirees absorbed benefit reductions and structural concessions to keep the city afloat. Protecting this pool of capital is a complex operational challenge, requiring specialized oversight to prevent a return to systemic failure. The system requires a leader built for institutional accountability. Kimberly Hall-Wagner is an attorney, a human resources executive, and a long-serving trustee. Managing risk requires understanding the law. Hall-Wagner began her nearly 25-year career in the law department. As a labor and employment assistant corporation counsel, she advised on public sector labor matters and navigated complex worker protections. Overseeing $2 billion requires massive logistical coordination. She directed these pipelines as general manager of human resources. Later, as director of civil rights, she enforced ADA compliance and administered equitable procurement programs. By working across legal, operational, and civil rights departments, Hall-Wagner gained a comprehensive view of how the city functions. She understands the entire professional life cycle of the employees relying on this fund. She brought that deep institutional knowledge to the General Retirement System Board. Over 8 years of service, she built a reputation for scrutinizing vendor performance and questioning investment strategies before any commitments were made. This chart shows the result of that rigorous financial oversight, an upward trajectory landing at a 5.25% fiscal year 2026 annuity rate of return. This represents the percentage of growth earned on system investments. Her commitment to this work stems from her upbringing on Detroit's West Side. During the era of Mayor Coleman A. Young, she witnessed the city's growth firsthand. Her family has served the city for generations across the treasurer's office and the water department and the police department, where her father served as an assistant chief. When Hall-Wagner asks difficult financial questions in the boardroom, she fulfills her fiduciary duty, the legal obligation to act in the best financial interest of the beneficiaries, while also defending the retirement security of her own family and community. Looking forward, her agenda focuses on strict benefit protection. Her baseline requirement for the system is simple: preserve the pensions current retirees and active employees have earned. No cuts and no compromises. To support that goal, she advocates for modernized operations. This means pushing for technology upgrades to streamline benefit processing and improve the daily experience for members. You can see the impact of these upgrades through tools like the Member Self-Service Portal, where active employees can securely log in and estimate their future pension payouts. She also plans to expand member education through dedicated workshops and accessible resources, ensuring every worker knows exactly how to maximize their retirement benefits. Transitioning to a transparent digital operation streamlines benefit processing and creates a structural safeguard against the confusion and financial vulnerability of the past. The decisions that secure these funds are finalized inside the Coleman A. Young Municipal Center. As Detroit continues its economic resurgence, keeping experienced leadership in place ensures the city employees who worked through the difficult years share in new prosperity. Re-electing trustee Hall-Wagner means supporting a 100% fiduciary commitment to the fund. It's why her supporters are voting to keep Kim. Securing this $2 billion system ensures that Detroit's public servants can build their legacy and ultimately retire with the dignity they have earned.
Great afternoon. I wanted to take some time first to say thank you for those of you that will tune in today and later in this lunch and learn opportunity. And I wanted to share with you something really important if you are a City of Detroit employee. So I want you to tag all your friends, whether you're watching us on LinkedIn Live, on Twitch, on YouTube events, on Facebook, or on TikTok, and on Instagram. In the mail, I got the opportunity a ballot to vote to reelect a fiscally sound representative. And this ballot I plan to cast, and I hope that you will cast yours for keeping Kim. Kimberly Hall-Wagner, who is joining us now. I am grateful to have you here with us today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation. I truly appreciate it.
I am grateful that you were able to make some time. You are an amazing soul, an amazing leader, and I know that your time and schedule is very busy. So I'm excited. I got mine in the mail. I'm opening it right here so that everybody can see. You should be getting one of these in the mail if you are a City of Detroit employee, and you should cast your vote. Just to be able to learn a little bit about you, who you are. You are an accomplished leader, attorney, human resources and employment law expert, process guru, and a person who leads with great heart. Heart for people, heart for the assets of people. And so I want you to just tell us a little bit about who is Kimberly Hall-Wagner, Esquire.
All right. Well, thank you again for having me. I really do appreciate this opportunity to tell you a little bit more about myself and about the upcoming election for trustee for the general retirement system. We could go the long version. I'm going to try the short version, and if you want more, we can go there. But who Kimberly Hall-Wagner really is a mom of two beautiful children, a wife of almost 18 years. Hard to believe, time goes so fast. A daughter of a civil servant, niece of many civil servants, Detroit born, Sinai Hospital, Detroit raised, and just someone who loves people, who wants folks to do their best in everything, in every area, education, financial, spiritual, just be whole, in their lives. And so anything that I can do in my capacity as a human being or as an employee of the City of Detroit or a trustee on the board, I will use my influence and my capacity to help people do that. Professionally, though, I am a licensed attorney in the state of Michigan. I practice, and my heart and passion is centered around employment law, labor too, but employment law is really my biggest interest. And now the intersection of employment law with human resources. So I've done that in various capacities with my experience at the city, which is now almost 25 years. It will be 25 years in August, hard to believe. And I've been practicing law for 26 years. So basically, my entire career, for the most part, has been with the City of Detroit. So that's me in a nutshell. We can go into deeper things as you ask your questions, but that's who I like to say that I am.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I heard you say earlier that generations of civil servants, what does being in civil service mean to you? Because you've been in it for 25 years. So what does it mean to be the daughter of an AC? And tell us what that is. And what did that expose you to and help to instill in you values that you still use today?
Yeah. So I'm a baby of Detroit. My father, as you mentioned, George Hall Jr., was a Coleman Young security guard back in the day. I think he was on his task force or EU executive protection, whatever they call it now, for at least 12 to 14 years. Then he went to Vice and all different capacities, ultimately retiring as the assistant chief of police. But I say that because I remember going to parties for Christmas when Mayor Coleman Young would dress up as Santa Claus. And I really thought that was Santa Claus. So my whole life has been around the City of Detroit. It's more than a job to me. It is really part of my being. It is part of my fabric. And being a civil servant, really, I'm proud to continue that legacy that my father, laid. He really did. And it allowed for a great lifestyle for him and our family. His sisters, two of his sisters, and then my mom, I think 4 or 5 of them were in the police department. And so it's really ingrained in my family. You know how some kind of come up through the fire department, or some people come up through GM and Ford and all the wonderful organizations in the city. my legacy is the city of Detroit. And so what it means to me to be able to continue that legacy, I just feel like I'm at the root of service. I'm at the root of everything good that's going on in the city. You know, everything that those of us who stayed during the tough times, the lean times, been a part of that, experienced, you know, neighborhoods coming down and coming back. And so it's just really who I am, and the opportunity to serve our employees who then, you know, support the public, the residents, the businesses in the city. I see my small but significant imprint on a lot of things, on development agreements that I participated in years ago for the LCA. A lot of people don't know certain things that I've had my hand in, but I know, and I'm proud, and I just love to continue this legacy.
And thinking about that great legacy that you're continuing, because you have a vested interest being a civil servant to ensure that our pensions are fully funded and protected, because you have two beautiful girls who are growing up
Yes.
and becoming their individual amazing selves. Having that specific angle, how do you take that into meetings and into pension work as a representative for us, because you're one of us? How do you take that in there?
Well, first of all, I'm always concerned, obviously, with the health of the pension system, right? Not only for my future and my children's future, but just because I've seen and felt the impact of the bankruptcy on my family, with the clawbacks and other things that the court, you know, negotiated, or those the powers that be at the time negotiated. I've seen the impact of that, and so what I bring to the table every time is always outside the box thinking. How can we bring wholeness back to our retirees, or to our active employees who will soon find themselves as retirees, God willing? You know, what can we do to make them whole? And if we can't go outside the confines of a legal document, which is the plan of adjustment, what other perks, what other angles, what other things have we not thought about that we can consider? So I'm always bringing, as I mentioned, my humanistic approach in making the lives better of our retirees and our employees.
Mhm. And you've been on the board for several years. Tell us how your thinking has evolved since your first term till now.
Hmm, that's a good question. It's intimidating. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, even though, you know, I feel like I was an accomplished attorney at the time, I am not a financial, you know, wealth manager by any stretch of the imagination. And I didn't realize that there were mechanisms and support in place. And I wasn't quite educated. I hadn't gone through some trainings and those kinds of things in the beginning. But now that I have, right, and now that I understand the rhythm, and now that I understand the relationships that we have with our investment committee, I think I found a voice. I found a stronger voice. You know, I was a bit intimidated. Now I'm not. And so, you know, I'm gonna call a spade a spade. And
Mhm.
if it doesn't pass the smell test, I'm going to say something. I
Mhm.
am going to question the investment committee. I am going to question some of the decisions or things that may come across the table. Although I am an attorney, although I do work with the Human Resources Department as the Chief Policy and Planning Officer, when I'm at that table, I wear a fiduciary hat. And the plan has to be, the wholeness and wellness of that plan has to be my first obligation. And sometimes that can be challenging. You know, it may not be exactly what the administration wants. It may, you know, it may be a very difficult decision to make, but it's my decision to make. I wear that hat, and I honor that role that I have. And so I found my voice at the table. And I found respect at that table for the voice that I have. So I think that's the difference. Just kind of learning my way, finding my voice, and being confident with that.
Fantastic. We're talking with Kimberly Hall-Wagner, Esquire, who is campaigning for re-election for the General Retirement System, our pension board. And her slogan is Keeping Kim. So if you are a City of Detroit employee, or City of Detroit employees. They live in your home, they go to your church, they go to your supermarket, they patronize your business or you patronize theirs. Please let them know that there is a candidate worth re-electing. Kim, you're talking about the fiduciary hat that you put on, and I got to know that all of your experience you bring with that research, right? You will research the research out of
Yes.
research, right?
Yes. Yes.
That curiosity you will bring to that. Tell us about how some of those competencies and skills that you've had as human rights director, that you've had as that you currently have as chief of policy planning operations and class comp and everything that they give you to do, how those skills and competencies help you when you're at the table to really position those questions that you found your voice. What are these things that undergird that voice?
Sure. So again, it's I just want to be clear. We do have an investment committee outside of our committee that makes investment decisions. Okay, and the way that, unfortunately, I think the plan of adjustment, the bankruptcy court ended up kind of bifurcating the duties between our general board and the investment committee. While it does allow for our committee to have somewhat of a voice and a say in some of the investment decisions being made, ultimately they have veto power. Okay. And while I feel like somewhat that's inequitable, I found a way to really consider the impact of things that people might not consider significant. For example, a lot of our retirees and some of our active employees, had something called a clawback. And so what that essentially was is that during some very lean times prior to the bankruptcy, those who had invested in the annuity program were receiving returns on their investment beyond what the market was really dictating. So while it should have been probably a zero or negative return, we were getting significant increases in the returns. And so the court determined they're going to claw that interest rate back. Well, what that meant for retirees, and then for those who, once you, in the old pension system, once you reach 25 years, you were able to pull away from your annuity. So those active employees who did that, plus the retirees, had some of their monies clawed back. And that left them with a significant decreased pension. And as you can imagine, without having health care and then having this clawback, it's a significant impact to their livelihood. And so while we couldn't impact that, we could, as a board, and I can't take credit, we move as a board, but I have a voice on that board, and I did speak up about this particular issue. But we found a way to allow the court to allow employees who had this significant clawback that they have to pay back every month out of their pension to pay it back at least in one lump sum. So that would allow them to restore their pension amounts. And then if they had just a small debt, to pay that off. And some had larger debts. But for some, and I think we are collecting, I believe, somewhere between 1.3 or 1.5 million they're able to pay back in a lump sum. That's going to increase someone's pension anywhere from $100 to $1,000 per month to be able to just pay that off in advance versus having to pay it off until the end of their life, which is currently what the practice is. So my vote, my concern at the table, I would go to the retirement. There's a few retirement groups. I would go to their Christmas events and talk to them about these options and let them know, hey, give us your voice. Tell us what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear. I'd love to see how we can try to restore, as best to our ability, your livelihood before the bankruptcy changed things. And so because of those interactions, those meetings, we were finally able to launch the program. I believe we launched it this past January. And so a lot of people are thankful for that opportunity to do that.
That is awesome. We're talking to Kimberly Hall-Wagner, Esquire, and she's talking about her voice on the pension board, making a difference. I love, Kim, how you're talking about how you want to hear from those in the retirement system, those who have a stake in the retirement system, all of the stakeholders going to retirement events and going to different groups to hear their voice. Hearing the voice of stakeholders has probably always been important to you, at least in these 23 years or so that I've known you. How do you think that uniquely positions you differently than maybe any other candidate? What positions you differently that we should consider when we're voting?
Well, I think at this point, with our new administration, Mayor Sheffield, who definitely has, she's heard a lot of these concerns from our active employees as well as, our retirees. But now she's in a position, and she served on the board with me. But now she's in a position to effectuate some of these to the extent that she can. Remember, we're still dealing with a legal document that has been agreed upon. But to the extent she can, and the fact that we have a few irons in the fire, as I mentioned, we're looking at other options. I want to keep that momentum going, right? And I do believe I'm one of the more vocal people at the table. And so you don't want to lose that. And as I mentioned, any candidate coming in new, whether they're, attorney, not whatever title they may have, as I mentioned, it is an intimidating process to learn it. It takes some time to learn it. And not to say that any other candidate couldn't. I'm sure anyone with working at the city has the aptitude to do anything. But certainly you would lose momentum on some of the projects and things that I'm not at liberty to discuss at this moment. But you would lose momentum on some of those items. So that would be, I think, that comes to mind, some of the work that I've been doing, changes we're trying to make. I also serve on the Deferred Compensation Board as well. And so there's some gaps, right, in employees understanding what benefits do you have. And so we're trying to bridge the gap between deferred comp, between defined benefit plan, which is the plan of adjustment or the pension system. And just, that's one of my gifts, is trying to find the gaps and then finding the ways to kind of dovetail things into each other so that employees are aware of all the vast benefits that they have available to them and that they're educated.
Yes, I love it. And one of the other strengths I think that you bring, maybe that an ordinary candidate might not be, is your policy work. Mm-hmm. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? How you, in many policies, as you said early on, some of the work might not get your name on it necessarily, but your name is all behind the writing and construction. In particular, sure, the paid parenting leave policy that the city now has. So talk to us a little bit about your policy work so that we understand some of the great things that you've done as well.
I'd love to. So as you mentioned, one of my proudest moments is partnering with Councilmember Benson and Councilmember Callaway on launching the first ever paid parental leave for the city of Detroit, where we pay 100% of salaries, while the employee parents, and it could be for adoption, it could be for birth or fostering, and it could be the birthing parent or the supportive parent, would be able to take 6 weeks of work off 100% without touching any of their sick or their vacation or PTO time. And we are expanding that. We just announced at council table, I believe it was Friday, we announced that we're extending that to 8 weeks. And, in the future, maybe we'll do more. But it is one of my proudest policies that, we were able to draft. But more so than that, in relation to the pension board, I also sit on the employee benefits board. So not only am I on the pension board, I'm on the employee benefits board, which sets the rates for your employee benefits. And so, we have great rates at the city of Detroit. If you know anybody working anywhere else, we do not have that level of, they don't have that level of benefit for the price that we have. And so, I've been able to partner with our benefits administration. Jeremiah Gross, God rest his soul, was significant in establishing a lot of those rates. And then we have a new general manager, Ayanna. I forgot her last name. I'm so sorry. Jackson. I wanted to say her middle name. I'm like, no, that's her middle name. But Ayanna Jackson, she is a phenomenal leader with benefits. And so we partner with them as well. And so with that, I bring my experience of policy development, looking at not only how it will be used, but also the legal. I always think of things in terms of, what legal challenges could we face? And I try to anticipate that. And to date, I think our policies, my policies that I've drafted, that flexible work, some FMLA and other things, have been used in a lot of lawsuits to help the city defend itself. And so I'm proud of the work that I do. I believe I bring that also to the Employee Benefits Board.
Wonderful. So a recognized voice, a recognized policy creator and implementer, a brilliant attorney, a sage voice for employees. I want to turn it now a little personally. In full disclosure, I get the opportunity to work with you closely every day. And I look back at 2003 when I came on, and I thought, get you a good city job. That's what people told me. I thought I'd stay 5 years.
Yep.
And during that time frame, there was an economic downturn, and we journeyed through doo-wop days.
Yes.
And 10% reduction in pay. And then we got to this place where we knew we were going toward bankruptcy, and there would be some draconian measures. It was not what I signed up for. I signed up for, if I'm going to get vested, I'm going to have a pension, and maybe I'll have benefits on the other side, medical benefits, that is. And then the clawback happened. So much for the average employee has been given up. And as people come that are new, they may not have that history and understand the commitment that those of us stayed made when our expectations had to be decreased based on economic downturns. And say what you want is who is responsible, or which mayor this or that did or didn't do anything. We had economic downturns, negative winds that blew apart our dream of retirement, right? So for me personally, it's important to have someone on the board who understands that journey for most of us, and who can personally attest to it, who has experienced it. And so I wanted to, before I give you the opportunity to speak, I'm going to come off camera and let you speak to those that are listening, so that they can hear just from your heart, from my heart as a civil servant. And I, like you, take this work seriously, my commitment seriously. I want someone on the pension board, someone to stay on the board, who I know understands that, who I know feels the weight and burden and maybe the joy of representing me in a room, being a voice for me, knowing my journey of 23 years and what I expect to happen with the pension board. So I'm going to be casting my vote to keep Kim. And I hope all of you that are City of Detroit employees, and those that aren't, will connect with your City of Detroit employee family and friends, those within your circle of influence, that you will convince them to vote. There are a couple of different ways to vote: online ballot, telephone, or mail ballot. Make sure that you follow this and that you vote. It opened on Tuesday, March 17th, and closes on Wednesday, next week, Wednesday, at 11:59 p.m. So I want to make sure you're aware of that. Kim, I'm going to turn it over to you. I appreciate you for coming, and I want you to take a few minutes and just in closing, share with those that are watching why you feel that we should all be keeping Kim.
Well, thank you again. And I will keep it brief. I'm not one for many words. But I will say this: I think it's incredibly important that you have someone who will speak up, who understands the nuances, and as Marcus indicated, understands the history that's involved. I think if you don't understand the history, you will repeat it. And some of those decisions that led to the city being in the position that it was, in terms of needing to be or going through the bankruptcy, we don't want to go back down that path. And I was here. I lived it. I stayed even through the doo-wops and all of the reductions. And while I think we definitely have leadership that will never go back there, both in the mayor's office and the leadership on the board in terms of decision making. It is critical that you have someone like myself who understands who the players are, what the concerns are, and most importantly, where we're trying to go, how we're trying to restore to the best of our ability. I also have a capacity to do the same on the city side, being in human resources. What perks, what benefits, what additional resources can we provide? Me and my team will be instrumental for instituting the living wage ordinance that Mayor Sheffield just implemented, where there will be no employee full-time equivalent who will be making less than $21.45. And while that's great, and I'm excited to work on that, it does have an impact on the legacy and on the pension side. So in order to understand that impact and create opportunities and solutions so that the impact is not as great, that's where you need someone like me who has the experience, again, who has the partnerships, who knows, has the relationships with the retirement community, as well as the active employees. Someone like myself who serves on the deferred compensation board, excuse me, and understanding, no, we don't have the same benefits we did in terms of our pension. The hybrid system is very different than the legacy system. So for newer employees, they don't have the benefit of the legacy system, but they do have deferred compensation. And so there's other things, there's other ways of building wealth, especially with this increase that's going to be coming for some employees. And so I want to leverage that. I want to make sure that our employees are educated on that. And I want to continue to build policies that support the well-being of families, of employees, of parents, with the city of Detroit. So I do want to thank you. I hope you will vote. Please cast your vote, as Marcus indicated. There's 3 ways. You can do it telephonically, pick up the phone. There's a PIN number on an email. There's a PIN number on the mail that came to you on a green ballot from the American Arbitration Association. Don't throw that away. But you can call it in, you can scan the QR code and vote on the internet, or if you want a mail-in ballot, you can reach out to the General Retirement Systems and they will provide you with one. I will say there has been voter apathy. So even if you don't vote for me, although I hope you do, I just ask that you vote. When we have over 10,000 employees and about 6,000 in the General Retirement Pension System, and we only have 300 people voting, we need everybody to show up, show your voice, give your vote. Hopefully it's for Kimberly Hall-Wagner, and you will keep Kim. So I do thank you for this opportunity, Marcus.
I'm so grateful that you made time and space in your busy day for us. And I hope that everyone will click share, whether you're watching us on LinkedIn Live, streaming on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. All of you city employees that are connected to our account and page, keep Kim. Vote now. Thank you so much, Kimberly Hall-Wagner, for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.